Here we go. Yeah, I think we are live, Scott. So this is Prairie Views. It's been a little bit. We had a little bit of a delay in some Prairie Views episodes, but we're back on and doing our thing. And I want to welcome Scott Perkins. Scott was one of the very first people I met when I came to Prairie. So, Scott, welcome to Prairie Views. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, thanks, Gabe, and it's great to be here today. You know, my role here with Prairie is business development for all of our market sectors. Been here 5.5 years and loving every minute of it.
Yeah, for sure. I can tell. I can tell that you love your job. So, what is your favorite part of doing business development here at Prairie?
Yeah, the favorite thing for me is being able to tell the story. Telling the story of Lisa's formation of the company, her motivation for doing that, and sharing the success and the growth that we've had here. It's a story that resonates really well with the customers, and it's easy and fun to share.
For sure. Well, I remember when I visited with you, even before I took the job. I mean, that was one of the first things out of your mouth was talking about the story of how Prairie Engineers came to be and Lisa and Darren's story. And yeah, it's an easy story to tell and it's compelling for sure, right?
Yeah, it is.
So, you work with a whole variety of clients and even partners that we team with. What makes a teaming relationship in your mind a successful teaming relationship?
Yeah, in a single word, transparency. When both parties are approaching a relationship with common goals and they have a mutual understanding, of the effort, it's going to take to accomplish, that goal or goals, that's I think when truly successful relationships are formed. When the goals and the effort required are transparent and everybody's committed to it, in my experience, that's when the really successful long-term relationships can be formed.
So that this wasn't part of the original question, but like, what would the flip side of that be? So, like, when things don't go well in a teaming relationship, what are some of the common factors that where teams kind of fall apart and don't do very well?
Yeah, the mismatched expectations between the two parties.
Yeah.
We unfortunately we hear a lot about that, and we see some of that with the SBA's All Small Mentor-Protégé program. That they seem to fall into two categories. It seems to be very binary, either really successful or not successful. And there don't seem to be many in that space in between.
Right. Right. Yeah, that's probably true for prime sub roles as well, even outside of the, teaming roles within the federal market, like the mentor protege relationships or the joint venture relationships. Same holds true for the prime sub relationships and other contexts, right?
Yep. Yep. That unrealistic expectation, maybe of subs expecting more and than what the primes are able to, to provide or offer, often leads to that.
So, I love asking this question, and everybody likes this question. It seems like when they get interviewed. But if you could switch roles with anybody at Prairie for a day, who would you switch with, or what role would you switch with, and why?
Yeah, that's an easy one for me. Hands down, it would be captain of the hydrographic survey vessel. And I feel very fortunate. I've had an opportunity to do that, 3-4 times here, for Prairie, and those are great days, for me. I love being on the water. I love the work we do for our inland rivers and lakes, and yeah, but getting paid to be in the boat on the water, yep, that's a good day.
Yeah. Well, that is like the most common answer, by the way, is the hydrographic survey team and being on the boat. And in fact, we did some of the interns we had over the summer. One of our interns, Dallas Forgy,
Mhm.
actually did his internship presentation from the boat while out doing a hydrographic surveying job. So that was pretty fun too.
Yeah, he did a great job with that interview. Yep.
He did. He did. So what's one of the more interesting places that you've had to travel for a project, and why was it memorable to you?
Yeah, early in my career, I had an opportunity to go out into, the Red River Basin of Wyoming and visit some of our mining clients. Visiting a mining client and for a specific mineral called trona, and going down in the mine with the customer, 1,600 feet plus below the surface of the earth. It is a unique experience, one that I'll never forget. It very remote location to begin with, but engineers and scientists will laugh at this and say it's nonsense, but I truly feel gravity felt different being that far below ground.
I think it's very believable, but I'm not an engineer or a scientist. I'm a marketer, so I guess marketers could be a little gullible at times too. What do you think?
Um,
Uh,
I'll plead the fifth.
and what was the name of the mineral that you said they were mining?
Corona. Yeah, it's a main component in baking soda.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's very fascinating. Um, so what's one of the lessons that you've learned from a project that did not go as you had planned it to go? And what was the lesson learned?
Yeah, let me give that just a little thought. And you know, the it usually comes down to communication, and managing that communication cycle. Um, I recently listened to a podcast, and it's called Three Takeaways with Lynn Toman. And I don't know if you ever had a chance to catch it, Gabe, but there was a session recently on why projects fail, and 199 out of 200 projects fail. And it's a short podcast, less than 20 minutes. So I don't want to do a spoiler on it, but if you get a chance to catch it, if anybody out there listening on LinkedIn, Lynn Toman, takeaways, and 199 out of 200 projects, why they fail. It's a pretty good podcast and really encapsulates, those drivers of what causes failure.
Well, I'll definitely listen to it. And I think what we might do is when we upload this to YouTube, we'll put that in the show notes
Oh, that'd
for
be
the
great.
YouTube video so that
Yeah.
people, if they want to go, they can hit that link and go listen to that podcast. But I'm definitely going to give it a listen as well.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, it seems like communication is such a common answer to problems, right? When
Mhm.
things don't go as planned, when things get sideways, it's either because of miscommunication or something important wasn't communicated, or something along those lines of communication.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a ubiquitous term, but um, typically a lot of those problems can be solved with more communication, more effective communication.
Yeah, something I've had to learn to do, and I'm freely admitting this. I'm kind of confessing. I'm my personality is the kind of that I like to email people or just or message them, to get things off my plate and keep moving to the next task. And the reason I say that's a problem is I think there's so many times that if I would have just picked up the phone and given them a phone call, it would have gone much better. And I'm trying to learn how to do that better, trying to learn how to just pick up the phone, talk to somebody, because so much of the communication is nonverbal, right?
Yeah.
Um, it's our tone, it's our inflection, and even video like this. It's like being able to see each other.
Mhm.
It adds even so much more to effective communication.
Yeah, it helps. In fact, I was just grabbing lunch with a coworker today and sharing with him that I have walked away from Facebook and Facebook Messenger. I've dropped my X account. I'm not looking at Instagram, and I've never had TikTok. And I'm going old school. I want to talk to people, right? It's still texting, right? You still have to text,
Sure.
but yeah,
Yeah.
it's kind of refreshing to just actually have the real conversation.
It actually reminds me. I know we're going off script a little bit, but it reminds me one of the most profound experiences that I had is right when smartphones were becoming pretty prolific, and people were starting to show up to like business lunches and things with their smartphones and would take calls in the middle of your lunch with them or text or check their
Yeah.
email. it was annoying, right? And I remember one guy in particular, and I've named him by name before because I so appreciate it. His name's David Cobb. He's a business developer with Terracon down in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And I was having lunch with David, and he intentionally took his phone out, turned it off, put it back in his pocket, and he said, "I just don't want to be interrupted. I want to have a good lunch with you." And
Yeah.
that was a profound impact when everybody else was doing the opposite, and I thought that was pretty special.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good gesture on his part, to do that.
Absolutely. Well, like speaking of business development, if you had like one business development superpower, what would it be? And what would your superhero name be for that superpower?
I love this question. And I'm going to answer the name first. I would go with the name, the connector.
Yeah.
And the superpower is helping that with that business to business relationships, helping others get connected with others in the profession, and being able to witness, that the spark, right, in the growth and the success that can come from that. And that I really enjoy that. Anytime I get an opportunity to make an introduction or a trusted teaming partner to another trusted friend or teaming partner, that it's a happy moment for me when I can do that.
Right. And I'm glad you said that because there's a little nuance to that in that, and you've been around this industry long enough and you've seen business development. Um, there's a very clear distinction between the business developers out there who you can tell are just in it for themselves and their companies, versus those who are really there to actually help you. Like
Yeah.
whether we have a service that will meet that need, or we know somebody else who can provide that service that will meet your need. Either way, the good business developers are going to find that solution for you, whether it's from their company or some other company. They're there to help you. And there's a pretty clear differentiation between those two kind of business developers.
There certainly are, and people remember that when you truly help somebody, right? They remember it.
Right. Right. And that's what we're in business for anyway. It's the long term. It's the long game. It's not the short, I want to get this project today. It's we want to develop a relationship with people so we can work together year after year and even decade after decade.
Yeah, earlier in my career, we had a training, and then it was focused on customers for life, right? Every interaction you have with a new customer early in that life cycle, you always be thinking about, this could be a customer for the length of your whole career or for the rest of your life, and bring that perspective and that level of care to it.
Absolutely. So I had asked you about like maybe a lesson you learned from a project that went bad. This is kind of related to that. So like, what's one of the most MacGyver type of things you've had to do on a project? And for the younger crowd that doesn't know who MacGyver is, just Google MacGyver TV series and you'll understand. But what's the most MacGyver thing you've had to do on a project, Scott?
Yeah, well, Gabe, that little image you posted, promoting this Prairie View Lives image of me in that kayak,
Yeah.
right, with with a data collector and a sonar head and a GPS receiver. Yeah, that's definitely one of the top three MacGyver moments. But it was great work we were doing for Illinois DNR, abandoned mines lands, and yeah, the right tool for the right situation. But that was very much MacGyver.
And I put that on because that's like my favorite picture of you. Like the first time I saw it from that project folder, I thought that's fantastic.
I'm
and
like,
I thought, man, I wish I would have been there.
Yeah, I've got all these shots of me and in DC on the steps of Capitol Hill and other things. And yeah, but it's the kayak picture that made the show.
Yeah, exactly. So another question, how do you decide? So you're doing BD work for Prairie, and we have 4 different markets that we serve, and we're very broad and multidisciplined in what we offer, to different markets. So across all those markets and all the services that we provide, how do you decide which opportunities are the good ones to pursue and which ones we need to pass on?
Yeah, here at Prairie, and one of the things I really like that is a team decision. So we bring together the market leads and the discipline leads, and we look at that and have a healthy go, no go process. And depending on the size of the opportunity, then the C-suite, participates in that as well. But there's nothing BD pursuit wise that happens in a vacuum. It takes a team. And we've got that working really well here at Prairie.
I would agree. I think every opportunity gets vetted pretty thoroughly. So if we decide we're pursuing it, it means we're confident. We know we've got the skills to do it. We know we've got the capacity to do it. We've got the talent. It's like we know that because of exactly what you just said. Everybody participates in that go no go.
Yep, and it forces me to deal with being told no when those no go decisions, do happen. I am the proverbial optimist. I want to pursue and win everything at the base level, but that's not a healthy process. So
yeah, no doubt. But it needs all kinds, right? We need the optimists, we need the realists. We need everybody to participate to make a good decision, right?
Yeah, and we've got a lot of talented people here that contribute to that.
For sure. Well, Scott, as usual, 15 minutes flies by. We're actually closer to 16 minutes, so we need to respect our listeners' time that we told them we'd take. So this is Prairie Views, where all the engineers are strong, all the surveyors are good looking, and all the scientists are above average. And we appreciate you joining us. Thanks, Scott.
You're welcome, Gabe. It's been a pleasure.
Yep. Thank you. Bye-bye.